Good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Meffistoe, and usually with me, my good buddy, my co-host, Oh My Feelings, but he is away again this week. But we wish him good luck and Godspeed today. What is the Reel McCoy, you might ask? Sorry. The Reel McCoy is your weekly movie podcast where we ask you and go watch a movie. You watch, come back to us, and we break it down and we spin it all around. Today, special guests, Jacob from Society Reviews and Jesse from TheCommonNerd on Rumble. How you been, guys? You're all good?
Yeah, I'm actually here on time, so that's
Yeah,
definitely a welcome change from previous shows. So how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm very good. As the rockets rent red in the sky, but
hmm
we'll keep that away from this. This is pure escapism. Jesse, how you doing, my man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just getting around, got my YouTube channel nuked, but I'm still going strong on Rumble, and I'm excited to talk about this movie because I actually really enjoyed it, and now I'm making Cubans for dinner. So
Nice. So you will, yeah, you will be joining us a little bit later. I'm just wanted to introduce you. You're away on a mission, but
yep,
you'll be back in about 15, 20 minutes. Back
yep.
on your old PC, on your old rig. So we will look forward to seeing you there. Jacob,
Yo yo.
how many times have you managed to watch Chef this week?
Wait, Chef. I thought we were watching Evil Dead 2.
Fuck off.
Crap. Well, I'll see you guys next week. No, man. I remember Chef. Chef was one of the movies, the first few movies. It's going back almost over a decade ago that I actually got an exclusive screening to watch, like when I started doing my movie review career. So Chef is a movie that I remember very, very fondly. I've owned it for many, many years. So yeah, there's a lot about Chef that we can talk about here tonight.
We've got a few things. We've got a few theories of my own and theories I come across. Theories that Jon Favreau himself said, "Oh, no way, that's not it." And I was like, "You're fucking wrong."
Mhm.
We'll say hello to the chat. Based Brooks, how you doing, my man? There we go. Jesse just left. Don't worry about it. He will be coming back. So Chef is a movie I never saw in the theaters. It just came on one day on TV. I think it was on one of the movie channels on the what used to be my cable, and came on and
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, look, it's a Jon Favreau movie." Me and the
I
wife
know that guy.
kind of sat down, kind of watched it, and was like, this is a really cool movie. Now, it helps if you're a big foodie like me. I like cooking my own food. I like preparing my own stuff, and I do enjoy several cooking shows. Not all of them, but it kind of put the whole cooking thing or the food thing really at the center, and it's very different from your typical movie that is about cooking or about a restaurant. So it was a little bit different. So immediately caught our eye and absolutely blown away. And I've seen it countless times since. All right. By the way, guys, go subscribe to Society Reviews. Barroom podcast on Tuesday. The Bible show on, is it a Sunday evening?
Mondays.
Monday evening.
Yeah.
Links are in the description down below. So if you've got your YouTubes, your Rumble, your Twitters, so you can go and check out Jacob. He's doing a fantastic work, much better than what I do over on Bounding into Comics, and you do the Bounding into Sports as well, right?
Yeah, I do. I haven't done a bounding in the sports article for a while, but I have contributed there plenty of times. So
I do enjoy your WWE takes on Twitter. That makes me laugh
oh yeah.
so hard. So
It is funny because people get really, really angry talking about fake fighting. It's like it's just kind of like amazing to me.
all right. Before to start the show, we do our first segment. It is called Behind the Screens.
Action, take two.
You can tell All My Feelings isn't here because I'm all over the place. Behind the Screens is where we usually turn to him and get the lowdown on everything that is behind the screens, the production stuff, everything that is going on with there. So today it's going to be me and Jacob if he has anything to add. Not a lot of information on the ye old movie, even though it's quite new. All right, so before the movie got produced, there was another film written by Stephen Knight with a similar plot line and titled Chef. It was developed by Sony Pictures ever since around 2006, 2007. So when the production started, Sony Pictures served Jon Favreau with a cease and desist for specifically for the title, and because Sony had used both chef and the chef with the MPAA, so they requested the production company to just change their film in order to to avoid legal action. However, Favreau did end up with the title chef for no reason at all. Apparently, Sony just decided to change to change their movie Chef into Adam Jones as the title, and then it got retitled yet again and became the movie Burnt with Bradley Cooper.
Yep, I do remember that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. When we were supposed to cover it this month, but apparently somebody told Mrs. Meth that the anniversary actually is on the night, is like next Saturday, which, I can do the podcast, but I can also lose my marriage. So that's not going to happen.
Podcast, marriage.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. So the script itself, Favreau said it was written rather quickly. He said it took him about 2 weeks to complete, and what you saw on the screen was basically that script with very, very minimal changes, which is fantastic. I didn't know Favreau is a fast writer. I know he takes his time, but
quite a while there now.
Maybe it's because it's sort of a passion project and all that stuff. Because when he got interviewed, well, in a few interviews that I've seen this weekend, he mentions the movie Swingers a lot. Now, we covered Swingers on the show. It's a good movie. It's a nice, good, solid, independent movie that has a good story to it, but it's not like amazing. But it's his baby, and he keeps mentioning it over and over and over again, anywhere and everywhere. All right. Roy Choi agreed to train Favreau to actually cook. Favreau promised him that in order for the movie to be authentic, he needs to go through these trainings of a professional chef. He actually went into cooking school to learn traditional French cooking methods for the film. And then he actually worked at a full-blown kitchen. Roy Choi is a sort of he's the inspiration for the trucks doing gourmet cooking in a truck. So he got him into a professional restaurant, and he did remedial work. So he did just preparing the cooking, making the parsley, making peeling potatoes, peeling avocados, just doing all the prep work rather than doing the full-blown chef work, just in order for him to build himself up.
It's funny how when this film came out, from where I come from in Southern California, trucks kind of had this negative connotation back in during the 1990s, where we used to call it like roach coaches, because it was essentially like, the food truck that would pull in for the factory workers, and they would go eat a burrito and then crap their brains out a couple hours later. That was pretty much his reputation, right? But around the time this film came out, there was this renaissance of food trucks all across the country, where people were like, no, wait, you can actually get legit style food from these trucks, and you had great chefs that were doing it. And it's almost like this film in a lot of ways helped that renaissance, what we see now today with just food trucks was all over our country nationally. So
yeah. And the weird part is, yes, hold. Okay. So schoolwork for tomorrow for the kids.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, because I watch a lot of TV with my wife on the downtime, most of the stuff that she would like to watch is on TV, unless I get a slip in some movie or rather. But we at the time, I remember there was also a reality show about food trucks as well, and
Yeah.
everyone in that reality show was from sort of around the country, around the U.S., bringing their own style of cooking. So you had the people from Louisiana doing their own sort of Creole cooking. You had the people from California. You had the people from North Carolina, all that stuff. So I knew that the food trucks was a thing, but I didn't know it was just how big of a thing it was. Because for us, you get not a lot of food trucks around, but it's mostly like people who sell off the cuff, I'll cook you a couple of eggs and I'll put them in a sandwich kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, like breaded chicken or something like that. So you can just put in a sandwich and eat. Sort of like the working man's blue collar, like you mentioned.
Mhm. Like I said, it was basically just like lunch break food. It's just like
Yeah.
I don't want to. I want to drive to McDonald's. So it's like, what can you give me that's like under $5? So that's kind of the idea.
Yeah. So the thing is, eventually, that whole collaboration between Roy Choi and Favreau led to a full blown series on Netflix called The Chef Show. I've watched it; it's pretty good. It's actually a much better version of a cooking show where you get really into the weeds of why things are done in a certain way. And if you've watched Chef throughout the credits, you kind of get an inkling. If you haven't watched the Netflix show, you kind of get an inkling between sort of the relationship between Favreau and Choi, where you get sort of an outtake during the credit scene where Choi's actually teaching Favreau how to make a grilled cheese sandwich in sort of a very particular sort of methodical way. And
Mhm.
when you see that in a scene, you kind of understand a lot of the scenes in the movie itself. Um, Favreau actually doesn't have tattoos. He doesn't have tattoos at all. But because he went to these restaurants and he spoke to different chefs and was into the mix, he saw that a lot of them do. So he wanted to
Mhm.
be a little bit more authentic. So he had the like fake tattoos, and it's kind of the ones that you put on and they rub off after a week or something like that. And sometimes he put on these fake sleeves.
Yeah, you see a little, not little so known secret when you talk about the early stages of food trucks and how they came about is because a lot of the actual chefs and the drivers had what we like to call criminal records. So because they were limited in their employment options, they decided, hey, you know what? Why if I just start making food and sell it, and maybe that'd be my new source of income, and then
And you know
ta-da.
what? You know what? If I remember correctly, in that reality show I mentioned, there was a guy who was he was sort of a crackhead of sorts. Went into
Mhm.
prison for about 4 years, and when he was in prison, he found God. Went back into the bosom of Jesus Christ, and he wanted to contribute, and he said, "I will feed the people." So he went and became a cook in the prison. Got out, went to one of those French cooking schools, got sort of a methodical way of cooking, and then the only way he could get a job is for him to make a food truck, and he just made a food truck.
Yep.
Um,
Hey, I can't knock the hustle, man.
can't knock the hustle. Aaron Franklin, if you know who Aaron Franklin is, he is the guy in Austin who Chef Casper buys the slow barbecue cookout stuff.
Mhm.
Um, he is a real chef. He has a real restaurant in Austin. It was actually filmed there at the time. He since then moved to a different location, and he also has a massive YouTube channel where he teaches people how to do slow cook barbecue, Texas style or Austin style, I should say. and it's the real guy. And Jon Favreau got to him through that YouTube channel because he heard people. He said, you gotta go to Aaron Franklin. He went there, got into the business and just asked him to be in the movie. And I think he also had an episode on the Netflix show as well. The critic, Ramsey Michelle, who's played by Oliver Platt, is actually a name that was taken from two different chefs. One is Gordon Ramsay, and the other one is Michelle Rooks Jr. or Roux Jr. Both of them own the restaurants. Both of them have 3 Michelin star restaurants as well. So, according to Favreau, in the director's commentary, for some of the road scenes, it was actually stock footage, and they've added in the food truck in post as a sort of a CGI amalgamation. How they did that, I didn't notice it being any CGI, but
it feels like for a movie of this budget that just getting another truck wouldn't be like that expensive, right? Like you can like literally just be like,
yeah, it's driving the truck all the way there. It's probably mostly the shots where they drive through Florida, where you have these highways and stuff and bridges and all that, where you can't really fake it that much. But
yeah.
that's what he said. What's the man said. Right. One thing I found, and it's kind of crazy because I worked on a video talking about this, is a lot of critics view this movie as an allegory for Jon Favreau's career, as he went back and forth from being an independent filmmaker and then doing some blockbuster shit. And they said it's an allegory of he did all the Marvel movies, all the Iron Man movies, and then he went to do Cowboys and Aliens, and it kind of flopped. So he went back and did independent movie, which is sort of kind of like Chef, where he's cooking for other people, doing other people's work, and just bringing his highlights, and then going off on his own sort of food truck and cooking his own food. It's sort of that allegory. And it's sort of weird that I never read this before, but I thought about it a lot. And like I said, I made a video about it. And then reading this was like, oh, these people have already come up with this. Sort of weird that Favreau vehemently denies this on several different interviews that I've seen him, like, to prepare for this show. It's like I've seen at least 4 throughout the weekend, and that kind of thing came up. And the people who interviewed him, because it's Hollywood shills, they kind of did it on the sly, where he said, no, this is not an allegory. It's not talking about my career. This is just a movie that is about food and all about food and blah, 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 blah. It's like,
and everyone was like, yeah, okay, whatever you say there, John. I mean, look, we've all kind of been there. Well, actually, let's save that for a little bit later, because I can go on that rant about that.
Yeah. Because I want to get Jesse's opinion, because this is his first time watching this. So I'll get a sort of a fresh opinion on how does he feel about this. And the last thing, which is very technical, budget was $11 million, which is pretty big for an independent movie, but, not that big. And
I mean, not compared to like the $250 million Disney budgets that we see nowadays.
Yeah. And it took $46 million in the box office, including international, because it made about 30 to 31 million, depending on where you look, domestically, and a bit more abroad. It had a UK release, a Mexican release, and a Australian release.
This movie got the benefit from a very good word of mouth, and really, because people were going to watch the movie, and I said it wasn't a movie that was well promoted at the time. Like, not a lot of people knew about it. They know the people who were in it, just didn't know of the movie itself. But the word started getting around, like how good the film really was, and it really truly helped them at the box office.
And we can talk a little bit about the cast before Jesse pops in. It's sort of a star-studded cast, when you
Oh
think
yeah.
about it. He took Sofia Vergara, which would at the time I think they were winding down the show that she was on. I don't remember the name of the show. Something about family.
Oh, Modern Family.
Modern
Yeah.
Family. Modern Family. So she
Yeah.
was winding down from that show. I'm not sure if she was still doing that last season. I'm so out of touch with like
Mm.
modern sitcoms. It's unreal.
Yeah. It's
Um,
not great.
RDJ, a cameo role. Scarlett Johansson, cameo role. You got Leguizamo. You got what's his name? Is it Billy? That you got Billy
Bobby
Bob,
Cavanaugh.
Cavanel, right?
Yeah.
Those kind of it's sort of not
You
super heavy.
even got a. I say you even got a cameo from Robert Downey Jr. in this film too. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, he's got Dustin Hoffman playing a sort of a half cameo role. You got
Oh, yeah.
Oliver Platt, so you got like decent actors doing this, and he mostly got them on scale, to be fair. And they were, RDJ kind of owes Jon Favreau a lot. Scarlett Johansson, I'm not so sure, but generally speaking, RDJ does owe Jon Favreau a lot to sort of not saving his career, but putting him on a high pedestal where he can command sort of
Yeah.
a much better salary.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. If Iron Man 1 had flopped, then yeah, Robert Downey Jr.'s career over the last, 15, almost 20 years would be in a completely different position than it is right now. So
Yeah, I mean, Tropic Thunder was. I'm not sure if it was the biggest hit ever. I'm not sure. It made a little bit of money, but not. It wasn't a massive hit, and it wasn't RDJ in the center. It was, and again, he was always playing that side character in most of the films he did.
yeah.
Maybe not Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or that sort of thing, but after everything that happened to him, and he was like literally a pariah, and getting
Hmm.
that kind of owed Jon Favreau, and so he did this movie on complete scale. Plus, I believe he only did like a 1 day shoot or a 2 day shoot, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Uh,
Yeah. It was like literally, hey, could you come down for like a weekend and help me with this?
yeah,
It's like, yeah.
and more names to mention, like Russell Peters, the stand up actor. He was the cop in Miami. That's sort of the biggest names I could grab. That's about it, right? Let us. We'll wait for Jesse for the first game. Let's start. Let's start off with a movie.
Movie.
Yeah. To be fair, this movie has got the best cooking scenes ever
Hmm.
in a movie.
Oh yeah.
Like even even if you take just the modern movies, in Burnt you got a little bit, in The Menu you got a little bit, but nothing is as good as this. It's sort of the perfect mesh of visuals and music. The music in this movie is spectacular. Um,
Yeah, definitely do not go watch this movie on an empty stomach. It's probably not a wise idea.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Even the parts where they serve the sort of the next batch of food, when we'll get to it, when Ramsey Michelle comes back as a
Mm.
challenge and he gets served the food. It's not bad looking food. It's just that the other food looks even better. But
Yep.
this whole start of the movie where you see Favreau, really, you can tell he's not faking it. I mean,
Yep.
I worked at a kitchen as sort of a just doing remedial work, just like he did. Sort of cut the onions, prepare the stuff, prepare the parsley, prepare I don't know, prepare even meat, just to hone your knife skills. You can't do that without a little bit of training, or maybe a lot of training.
Oh
As
yeah.
there's a moment there where he cuts onion really, really fast, and he takes his eyes off of what he's cutting to look around.
Hmm.
Yeah, you need a little bit of training to do that, and you can't fake it. People can tell, And he got a lot of praise for this, for doing it right, from a lot of different chefs around the world that really liked this movie.
Yeah, look, I have a little bit of restaurant experience too. You know, I was a host for Chili's for 2 years, and I could tell just from my was it culinary experience here that you don't get that kind of training without let's say blading up your fingertips just a little bit. There's some trial and error there, certainly when you're learning how to do stuff like this, because people learn very quickly if they're not made for this type of world.
Yeah, and it's not only the cutting thing; it's just doing it in a timely fashion, because there are people that want their food like
Now,
yesterday. They ordered it
hmm
now, and they wanted it yesterday as they order it. But yeah, it kind of that first scene in that kitchen kind of puts him in the sort of a it's the movie is chef. Let's go. It's a chef before we even start everything, and we got to get that back and forth with Leguizamo there, sort of like going like cutting away the pig and preparing it, and
hmm
then he's coming. No, not here, but he's coming out, and his sous chef is literally drunk from last night, still in his car. I've seen I've seen cooks. I didn't see chefs, but I've seen cooks like that in the early mornings, coming back kind of hungover to work, and of course, and then we see sort of the setup with Percy, the setup with his son, kind of giving you both sides of the equation, where we see sort of the business side, the chef side of Carl Casper, and now you see Carl Casper, the dad, Carl Casper, the human behind the uniform. And to me, it was always putting it in a sour mood, where the kid is literally trying to connect to his dad, and the dad is like, I need to do this, I need to do that. We're here to spend time together, but he's not doing what he wants to do. He doesn't do what the son wants him to do, which is just spend time with him, just hanging out.
yeah. He's definitely a kid who, like I said, wants to hang out with his father, but it's like there's obviously like a disconnect in the relationship based when he was doing like his more, I guess, upscale like work, and now he's kind of like in between trying to figure out like what's the next step, and he has an opportunity that gets dropped in front of him. It's like now I can hang out and be a better father than I was before here, and actually like show him like do the whole no father son routine here. So.
Yeah, and you see that there's a moment there where it's like, please eat some fruit, which is like, I mean, the thing is, he's like, eat some fruit, eat some this, and a minute later, they're literally eating like a cheesesteak sandwich,
Yeah.
which is sort of the dichotomy, and then they're scarfing over that popcorn. It's like, didn't you just say you need to eat healthy or something?
hmm But then
Uh,
again, I mean, that goes into like the sugar from the fruits too. But I mean, it's better than what he was eating before. Just put it that way.
and then we got an inkling of what is the actual situation in that restaurant, where
hmm
it's like, okay, the chef, he comes off as, I'm the chef, I have autonomy, and the owner is like, we're gonna have a massive critic coming in tonight. You have to do, you have to prepare the stuff that everybody likes. Is and you got this whole spiel, and this is the sort of like there's two times that this happened. This is the first time where Riva, or Dustin Hoffman's character, is like, you're going on a concert, you're going to see the Rolling Stones, you want to hear the hits, right? So just
Yep.
give the man your hits, and that's why everybody's here to eat your good food, the food that is consistently good and consistently is selling. Give it to the critic. And the chef is like, Carl Casper is like, I want to be more, give him some more flair, give him some more, some extra stuff. And Riva is like sort of stifling his creativity. It's like, I'm the owner here. We do it my way or the highway. It's like, you're a good chef. I got you these fancy stuff, this fancy kitchen. Nobody gets this kitchen. Because you deserve it. Now cook the fucking food I'm telling you, or else. This is where that whole analogy comes in of Favreau wanting to be doing this independent stuff and writing his own ticket, being sort of super creative, and Riva as the studio heads or producers or analogy, put any analogy there, kind of stifling him. And it's like, these superhero movies are really, really good. Just make another one. It's not a big problem. Like it's writing itself already. And this is where I came from. It's like, oh, I can see that. And from first time viewing, if you don't know Jon Favreau and you don't know the history of him and the studios, it will go over your head. But if you know a little bit about Jon Favreau, watch a bit of his independent films and then watch his more commercial stuff, you kind of get to see where it comes from. And we welcome back Jesse, the common nerd. How you doing, my man? Microphone, dude. Fix it. You're muted.
No. But I will say this though, because it does like show this dynamic here where you got Favreau's character in his own mind thinking that he's essentially like a rock star in his own kitchen, and then you realize once Hoffman comes in that he's the guy that runs the shop here and tells him like straight up, it's like, yeah, we don't want any of your like fancy items, like just stick to the classics, just stick to like the normalcy. We will need you to try to like cook up something in your mind here. It's like stick to what everyone knows, and it's kind of that whole thing where it's like, are you just gonna play your greatest hits, or you're gonna try to get creative and do something new? So yeah, you got a lot of creative conflict and clash going on here in this film too. So
yeah, we got Jesse back or not?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, baby.
Okay, this is my first time ever jumping in on a restream before, so I had to adjust all my settings in the back to make sure you were pulling in the right mic.
Yeah, that happens. That's why I send you the link in the first place, like in advance.
Like hours ago.
And I'm gonna ditch Restream and I'm gonna move to EVMux like
yeah, that's what I'm using. Yeah, that's what I've been using for the last couple of weeks because I like it. Since I'm only on Rumble, I like it because I can highlight the Rumble chats.
Yep.
Nice.
Sort of half the same reason, because they're sort of not going into the weeds that much. They're sort of standard $19 a monthly is like I pay $50 over on Restream. So
oh wow, yeah, and I like it because it's about the same price as StreamYards, and it's essentially OBS built on top of StreamYards, but you can stream to 4 different places instead of just 3, which I think that's really cool. Still can't get it to work with Kick, but whatever.
All right, you came in just at the right time, Jesse, because we kind of started diving into the movie, and not too far in. But we will play our first game of the night. It is called, Missing Marquee. Missing Marquee, for the uninitiated, is where we take 10 posters of movies, have their text written off, and our guests, especially Jesse, will have to guess which movie this is, and we will go. Chat participation is most welcome. Jesse? Jacob, you're more than welcome to jump in.
My first thought was Teen Wolf, so I'm not sure if that's correct or not.
It is not Teen Wolf, no.
Well, I'm out.
So we're supposed to guess what the movie is based on the picture?
Guess what the movie is. It is
Teen
a
Wolf.
poster from a well-known movie. It's not a fan art. It is either poster.
It's not AI art.
Werewolf in London?
Hmm?
Werewolf in London?
Werewolf in London is correct.
Woohoo! I have no idea.
Is this not Attack of the 50-Foot Woman?
It is Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
Ooh.
Nice. Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Correct.
Ooh.
Dawn of the Dead?
Living Dead?
Not Dawn of the Dead.
Night of the Living Dead?
Not Night of the no. It's the third one.
Oh, I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
Return of the Living Dead.
No. So we've got Night of the Living Dead. Dawn of the Living Dead.
Is it
What's next?
Day of the Living Dead? Day of the
Day
Living
of the
Dead? It is. It's Day of the Living. All right. Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon
Flash
is
Gordon.
correct.
Oh. I can't remember. I don't think I saw
Lucy,
the trailer,
right?
but I didn't. Okay, yeah.
Lucy.
Lucy is correct.
Saw the trailer. Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes, correct.
Ooh. Fly.
The Fly, correct.
Oh,
Thing.
crap. What's the name of this one? Yeah,
The Thing.
The Thing.
Correct, Jacob. Very good. Very, very good. I can hear Tom screaming in the background. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we really crushed that one. Usually I stink at that portion of the show.
Knock it out of
Jacob,
I thought I was gonna be horrible. I didn't think I was gonna get any of those.
Well, sometimes I pull in a bit of the old Mecha Godzilla and try to work that out. I had Lofty on, and I had all of them, the different Godzilla movies, and he managed to get 7 out of 10.
Nice.
He's a big Godzilla fan, apparently. So, Jesse, before we kind of get more into the weeds, you watched this for the very first time, and I want to get your sort of just initial take before we get into sort of covering bit by bit.
Yeah, so this is one of those movies this is something I wouldn't have gone out of my way to watch. Like if I was scrolling through, this isn't something I probably would have watched, but I'm really glad I did. It's a really good movie. It was kind of funny because I'm watching it initially and I'm like, is this like the prequel to the Avengers? Because of like all the cast that it's got in it and everything else. I was like, oh, look, there's Scar. Oh, we got, yeah. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I've worked in restaurants before. For quite a few years before I joined the military. So that was one of those things, like I really relate to restaurant movies. Like one of my favorite comedies of all time is Waiting, right? So like I'm watching like in this kitchen and I'm seeing all this interaction. I'm like, I know exactly how all of that is. And I love that atmosphere. I really do. So I got a big kick out of that. I loved the whole, how having the whole, kind of critics set off everything off into the motion and the way I thought the ending was great. I thought it was really well done. And like I said earlier, I'm literally making Cubans for dinner. My wife's actually at the, she's actually at the grocery store right now, picking up all the ingredients. So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I'm glad this is the one I got on. Cause like I said, this isn't something I would have watched normally. And I really enjoyed it. So there's flaws. I do have a couple of places that I can pick out screw ups in the editing, but other than that, yeah.
That's okay. Base Brooks says, Mephisto, can you do a movie review on the movie Whiplash? I will in the future. Yes. Watched it recently again. I have feelings about the movie. It may not be your feelings about the movie, but I can say that is a very good, solid movie that it kind of took me by surprise. Because I love the main actor. I keep forgetting his name. The bald older actor. No,
the bald older actor.
He's been in everything. He's literally been in everything.
Oh, you mean what's his name? Bobby.
The main guy from Whiplash, not the kid.
Oh no, you're wrong movie. J.K. Simmons, yeah.
J.K. Simmons. I keep forgetting the man's name, but he's been in so many movies that I absolutely adore. And having to see him in this was like, ooh, that's a very interesting role because it kind of combines elements from what he did in the TV series Oz. Yes, I kind of connected them both, but when I'll talk about it on my review, you'll know. But yeah, it's funny enough. I'm kind of working on like 7 of them. So we kind of got to talk about that sort of conversation between Dustin Hoffman's character Reva and Carl Casper, Jon Favreau character, about before the first critic night comes in. It's like Reva is like, you need to play your hits, kind of like or else, because that's what I expect of you. I'm the owner. You're the chef. You have creative control, but not really.
Right.
And we don't actually see that interaction, but we do get to cut to what happens after every like night of service. All the gang gets into
Yup.
some sort of a bar or a bistro or whatever, and they just have like a nightcap, a drink, and then everybody kind of is hungover the next day. And
Rinse and repeat.
rinse and repeat because it's 7 days a week. Yeah, I gotta feed people. And it starts off kind of good, but then Casper kind of gets crushed because it's like, oh, you're not the guy I backed a long time ago. You're not the guy that I saw in Miami that I ate the wonderful food. You kind of became this bland, meh kind of cook and not really a chef. And that really, really got to Carl Casper. The fact that he has a conversation with the hostess and was like, yeah, the man is kind of right. I want to do extra things. I want to be more flamboyant in my cooking, but I'm being stifled in this place. And she encourages him to try and get stuff started, but he is still closed in his own mind, in his own kind of framework, and he really doesn't want to leave.
Well, you kind of get set in your own ways after a while, right? You get comfortable in a place. And I think any of us that have done a job that maybe we're not the happiest with, but you get comfortable, right? And it's like you don't like not everybody likes a change of routine. I know I'm a hardcore like routine guy. Like I have a set schedule every day that I like to do every day. And that's what keeps me motivated. That's what keeps me on time. And like when you have to go all of a sudden, you got to go, man, this really ain't working. I'm really not happy. I got to do something completely and totally different. You're like, that's scary. It's for some people, that's hard to get into when you're comfortable.
Yeah, and the whole point is to give you a sort of a taste, as we shall say. He is hosting her. It's implied that maybe they're getting together, but not really because she's fully dressed. And he is cooking for her something that this dish, by the way, I've only seen done in Italy, where it's just minimal pasta and oil and not a lot in it. I've only seen it in Italy. I've been to Italy twice. That's the only place where I've seen this kind of dish served, which is just pasta with oil, basically.
Yeah. But then again, you also have to remember in Italy, they're probably making their pasta from scratch too. So there's another element to the.
Not necessarily. It's to be fair, it's a lot to do with the flour that they're using. They have to use flour, and the whole like GMO thing was never a thing there. It's like completely banned. They're using really old kind of wheat for their pasta. So even if you get like a freeze dried pasta, it usually is like fresh pasta. It even tastes kind of the same when you actually make it. Yeah, I can't except for saying it's the same wheat. I can't really explain how they do it because I've gotten like stuff shipped here, which is very costly. But it's not the same. It's really not the same.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I like that scene too because it's one of those things like you could see there's a lot of history behind them. I mean, like she's like watching her watch him cook. It's like she's literally like, oh yes, like it's getting her flustered watching him cook because she knows how good of a cook he is. I mean, that's got to be the best meal on the planet because she is excited for that meal while he's cooking. And I thought that was very,
and
very
that too.
interesting.
It's not like he's going to impress her with his strapping good looks, but if he can impress the hell out of her with her cooking ability, it's like, yeah, you're pretty much game over after that. So
right, yeah, make them laugh and cook well for them.
Yeah, and I just want to hang back on this is the sort of the ex-wife angle and all this, and she is positioned to be, first of all, a business owner. She makes way more money than him. We don't actually know where that sort of spark went off with them. Maybe it's because he likes that routine and she wants to develop and be better or do more or that sort of thing. Maybe that is the spark that kind of blew off. we don't actually do know, but what we do know towards the end, as his spark comes back to create and be creative, be crazy, be doing the things that he like, that gets them back together. So you can kind of infer that him being in that routine and in that rut creatively is that thing that kind of put the marriage into some sort of a disconnect, and that's where the sort of the separation began. And it's through those conversations with the wife, with Sofia Vergara's character, is where you're like, I'm with the wife. I want you to move forward. I want you to develop. And him being so closed-minded, it's not just with the cooking and it's not just with the restaurant. It's with his wife, and most importantly, his relationship with the son, where they're out doing some, he takes him out to a movie, takes him out to some sort of a theme park place, and
it's certainly one of those things where, I think we've all experienced to some degree. It's like when you're working a job that requires like a lot of time and attention, more than just like a regular like 9 to 5. It's hard to find that balance between like work and family too, right? If you let work get too much of your schedule, it's going to hurt your family life, and you kind of see that's with I guess the mode that he's put himself in over all these years, that he's been so focused on his work and his job that he's not even completely satisfied with it. He's let everything else in his life suffer as a result. So putting his time into everything and enjoying nothing is pretty much where he's got to this point.
And of course, after that sort of criticism about him not doing anything creatively, he's like, there's another scene. This is not the best cooking scene, but it's very, very close, very, very close, where he's literally spending the entire night cooking different things. And as his sous chefs come in, he's like, this is amazing. We want to cook this food. Let's make this food. And as soon as the owner comes in, he's like, I mean, there's this point where it's like, yeah, let's make it for tonight. Let's do it. Let's make it good. And as the owner comes in, it's like, no, we won't serve this because I want to serve the menu that we constructed, that I want you to make.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because this is after he had called out the critic on Twitter too,
No,
and was like,
this is before.
Is this one still before?
He was like, I want to get my juices going, and he spends the entire night there.
Yeah, he spends all night there.
And he serves.
Oh, that's right. Then he messed. Yeah.
And then he has that sort of a conversation with his son about Twitter. He makes him that grilled cheese sandwich, and he's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm on Twitter. What's Twitter? And this is where kind of like you get the angle.
Oh, this is right after the review came out. That's right.
Exactly. It's after the review came out, after he's like, I want to do this crazy thing, and he still hasn't presented it to the owner. But he's at home with his son, and they're not doing the craziest thing. They're just like the kid wanted. And all he does is showing his dad what they connect through with. So watching YouTube, or I'll teach you how to do these, these new age digital things, as we can connect with those. And Casper, the chef, doesn't understand how actually Twitter works, because the kid explains it, but if knowing Twitter, like, the kid doesn't explain the entire thing and how it works, and a boomer like Casper is gonna fuck things up, and he's gonna fuck things up because
royally.
If you use Twitter at all, and you do that, you're into some heavy shit. And there's a moment there where the kid kind of goes to bed, and he leaves him with Twitter, and he does what a guy does. He reads the entire thing and the replies to the replies to the retweets, and was like, no, you are making it way, way worse.
Yeah.
And you could tell by his face.
Yeah, any of us that have been on the internet longer than 5 minutes know that is never a good idea. Like, you don't go doom scrolling through that shit. You will destroy yourself.
And of course, in the morning, you get like the two chefs that are connected to Twitter, because Twitter is evidently Twitter is the new Tinder, or used to be the Tinder, but
that
not
was
really.
2014.
Yeah. And what I wanted to say about this whole the mesh between sort of social media and how it progressed from back in the day into what we know it now, this is kind of like it works now, because you can use Twitter to promote yourself, to move yourself forward, and with your sort of your project. And this is something that it got edited into the movie. Those tweets that was it's there throughout the movie, and you can see the tweets and how it got sent and all that stuff. The two guys like, yeah, good morning, yeah, fuck Twitter, and Casper's like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean, fuck Twitter? And he doesn't understand until the moment is like, yeah, I'm gonna put my gauntlet down and I'm gonna invite him again. And this kind of sets everything in motion, because he kind of realized that, yeah, what I sent him last night was not a DM, it was actual text. He realized that in the morning, where his son is like, yeah, this is an open message, everybody can see it. Because the kid kind of wakes up and he doesn't, and he's like, holy shit, you've got like 1,000 followers. And it's like, is that good? And that kind of sets everything in motion, where that sort of that evening that he took the time to make a new menu, and you can see the different things that he kind of made. It's like, he even says it to the hostess. It's like, I'm feeling happy again. This is the menu I want to cook. I want him to come over, and he can see what I can make, right? He's happy. He kind of gets all the waiters together, and he was like, okay, listen up. We're doing this and this and this. We're going to listen to the hostess. She's going to pair the wines and everything. And as soon as he says that, in comes Riva.
Wah, wah, wah.
Dun, dun, dun.
And he's like, it's not only cook my own food, it's that added thing that he added right at the end there, which is it hit really home this weekend, or at least this week, with the whole Gina Carano dropping the bombs on Twitter about people in the industry are told to unfollow or unshare some stuff, because you can decide if you want to get fired, or unfollow this critic, or unfollow this YouTuber, or unfollow this content creator, or else kind of deal.
Yeah, he tells him to apologize.
Yes, he tells him to apologize, and he tells him from now on, anytime you want to post anything on social media, you have to go through me, which is an added thing to this whole complex. And it really comes to a head where Casper is like, no, fuck this. I'm leaving. You cook your own food by yourself. And it kind of leaves his sous chef in a bind, where he wants to leave as sort of a loyalty, but he doesn't want to give up his job because it's not his argument, kind of. Tony, I'm talking about Tony. And Casper is like, no, Tony, you should definitely stay. This is just between me and Riva. You know how to cook this food. Just go ahead and do this. And to me, this leads to the best, and I will die on this hill, the best cooking scene of all time in any movie is this one. It's not just the cooking, it's not what he does, it's the marrying of how it got shot, how it the compositive, the music, everything in that scene, where you see half of it in the restaurant with Ramsey Michelle coming in and kind of gets served this food that he just critiqued last time being served again, where he expected that gauntlet, that sort of that challenge that was put on Twitter, to be manifested in something else, and he gets the same thing again. The other side is Casper making the stuff that he wanted to make for Ramsey Michelle, but he's doing it in his own home.
I honestly expected him to take this plate in there and drop it on the guy's table. Like the way this ended up going was not the way I expected. But one of the things that I liked about this is the version I watched about this. They had some of the extra little scenes at the end towards the end credits. And one of the things that I thought was really cool was they actually taught Jon Favreau how to cook for this movie. Like there's actually some scenes showing the chef teaching him how to make that fancy grilled cheese and like all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was really cool because it's his hands the entire time doing all of that. And yeah, it's an amazing scene. Made me hungry watching it.
Yeah, exactly. Jacob said you cannot watch this movie on an empty stomach. I agree.
Oops. That's why I'm making Cubans for dinner.
Exactly. These are one of those movies you go watch and you start getting all the supplies for a Cuban sandwich like right away. Like, we're going to the store tonight.
And to be absolutely fair, one of the times I sat down, it's like we were flipping the channel. It was like, oh, Chef is on again. Let's watch it. We got a couple of hours, no problem. We kind of started the watch, and during that whole pasta scene at the start, it was like, let's just stop right now. Let's go make dinner because we know what's coming. And so we made dinner or lunch. I don't remember what it is, but we just kind of paused it, went out, made some food, and just sat around and just munched away while the movie is going because you just had to. We just had to. And the whole point, and this is where, again, you got the extra sort of social media aspect to it, as he's cooking this whole food. Tony is making, just making the food. It's not bad. It's just regular old stuff, the highlights. And he gets served this whole thing, and he's tweeting away. It's like, okay, Chef Casper is like, he shit the bed again.
Yeah, he's a no-show. He said he's a no-show.
And he watches this thing on social media and he gets annoyed and he rushes to the restaurant. And the hostess, like Scarlett Johansson's character, was like, do not come here. It's like, where are you? It's like, I'm in the parking lot. Oh, shit.
Keep him there. Don't let him leave.
Stop him. And they're trying to stop him, but he goes ballistic. And of course, when everything goes ahead and everything goes ballistic, phones come out and everything. You can see everybody there. And this is 2014. Everybody's out with their smartphone, taking a picture, doing a video, everything, while Casper goes absolutely fucking ballistic to this guy. And of course, I don't know if they didn't have any agreement with YouTube, because when they showed the sort of the video where he's talking to the publicist, right? His ex-wife got him in touch with a publicist, and the guy's like, can I take this off the internet? It's like, no, the internet is forever. We can just pause it a little bit or use it, harness this whole craziness into our advantage, get you on like Celebrity Chef or whatever. Or
Iron Chef.
Mentioned Dancing with the Stars.
She mentioned Iron Chef.
Iron Chef. It's like, okay.
Look, we've all sat there and watched guys' grocery games on Food Network and thought, I can do that in my own kitchen. It's really true.
But the whole point is, she didn't mention the Streisand effect, but she basically kind of says, well, we can take it down from one site, but another 5 will have it later, like host it later on. And when you see it, you see the video that somebody took from sort of this another angle. It's not on YouTube, but it's on something else, some other another website. But it's on YouTube. It lives forever. You can't stop it. If you try to stop it, Streisand effect, it will just be bigger and even worse. And all that Casper wants, all that Chef Casper wants, is just get a different job, but people will not hire him. He is unhireable because people don't want you to go ballistic on a fucking food critic in front of everybody, right?
And then have it go viral all over the internet on top of it.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that.
Hey, maybe
Right.
maybe there's like a lucha tacos place that he just will hire him. They'll go all in for that. It's like, yeah, we'll put you guys in the ring and so,
That would be
And
great.
even this kind of mirrors the first talk that he has with Scarlett Johansson, where the first talk was like, I'm in a rut and all that stuff. And in this talk, it's like, I told everybody that I have a lot of prospects, but in fact, nobody wants to hire me. It's like I
Yeah.
have zero, zero job prospects, and I don't know what to do. And all she says was, "I'm counting on you to do what's right."
Well, and she reminds him too. She's like, "You're not happy." You know what I mean? She's like, "You haven't been happy for a long time." And he's like, "Well, we've had good times." She's like, "Yeah, we've had good times, but you're not happy." And like he finally gets it. He's like, "Oh, I get what you're saying. Okay, yeah." And so,
It actually doesn't sink in until he has that conversation with his ex-wife, because
mm,
the host, Scarlett Johansson's character, I forgot her name, but
yeah,
she kind of mentions the sort of creative chef side. His ex-wife mentions the family side, that his son kind of, it puts a light on his son and how he admires him and how he wants him to be in his own life. Kind of like sort of that child's wish of, I want my parents to be back together.
hmm,
But also, if this situation is like this, I want to spend time with my dad. I want to be with my dad because he looks up to him a lot. He looks up to his dad a little bit more than he looks up to his mom. I feel, at least
absolutely.
what is shown in the movie. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's any different with any son. Every son looks up to their dad. Yeah. Okay.
Uh, and it's sort of that the son kind of tries to follow his dad into whatever he does. He just as much admires him. Doesn't matter if is a chef or a radio host or I don't know, a contractor. It doesn't
it's
matter.
like it's like I was saying a little bit earlier, how you got, the way they set it up is that he was kind of like neglecting his family duties, which is why, he's had so much turmoil in his life beforehand. But now he's put himself in this position where his son can actually help him out in a lot of these aspects, because like I said, his son is the more tech savvy one. He knows how to like promote and market things, which clearly goes completely over his head. But now he's in the position where he can not only be with his father, but help build his father's like new business. So they end up finding new ground and changing their entire, I guess, dynamic of their relationship just based on that alone. And like I said, there's a lot of elements from like, professionally, personally, and that thing really worked well here in this film that they bring to this point.
Yeah. And
And
that scene,
no, go ahead.
But
I was just going to say that scene between him and her is really good. She's just like, "Look, he just wants to spend time with you. Just come with us from Miami. You ain't got nothing else going on right now. It's where you started. It's your roots. It's where you first became like a really top, where you really became a well-known chef. Put your feet back under you. See, go home and see if it resets you." And
my
it's a
mind.
great argument.
I forgot to say too. My best part about this, as we'll talk about here in a second, is just her whole thing of, "Oh yeah, I know a guy." And then,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. One of the things is like, after she gets him to Miami, you're thinking, she used her womanly wiles to get him to do the right thing. She didn't do it for him, but she sort of pointed him into the right direction because she knows him. She knows him better than he knows himself. That's why she sort of fell out of love with him, where he became sort of a bogged down with routine and she wanted to move forward, and she's literally dragging him to moving forward with his own life. It's not with her thing, it's you're doing your thing, but you're moving forward rather than just staying put. And it starts off with them kind of reconnecting in that salsa place again, using the music, and the music is very much a big part of this movie. I mentioned it, and I will mention it again and again and again. taking the musical parts or taking the downtime between the sort of the text or the talking into making it work and moving the plot forward as they're reconnecting and redoing the thing that they love through creativity, through both food and music, and bringing sort of the parents together, as you can see the son looking at them dancing.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, yeah, mom and dad are back together, but not really.
Right.
Um,
And I mean, come on, it's Eva Longoria. If she asks you to come to Miami, you're
Sofia
going to
Vergara.
Miami with
Sylvia Vergara.
Lviv Vergara. Sorry, I had the name wrong. Fuck, I was thinking of Eva Longoria for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's
But
fine. You can put in Eva
Nah.
Longoria in it, and she'll do exactly the same bit.
well, that's probably
no.
what threw me off because like it's like the same kind of actress.
Sophia's Chi-Chis are far bigger than Eva's by a mile.
That's what it is.
total
Well,
difference.
Sophia. There we go.
Sophia. Oh yeah. But yeah, and he kind of gets it from her dad as well, as like,
Yeah.
you need to where's your cookie? Where's your cabana? Where's your platanos? Where's the good stuff that I know you from? And he's like, don't worry about the kid. It's like, get back to doing this. And
And even calls him fat.
Cuban restaurant. By the way, the location that they use as an actual Cubano restaurant in Miami. I don't remember the name, but it's legit a very well-known place in Miami. I think I talked to Legal Mindset a while back, and he did mention this movie and that location as well. Kind of half-assed remark, but he's originally from Miami, so he knows that place. And of course,
Miami is weird in a lot of ways. Miami still is a touristy destination, but just not for the same reasons that it used to be. It's trying to figure out what happened to that place. It's like used to be just like that summer, spring destination. If you want to go see some salsa and some Cubano food, you go down there. Then it just turned into like a mess. It's a safe way to put it on YouTube. A mess.
Yeah. And now, one of the most surreal scenes I've seen in a movie in a while, and that's RDJ in a nutshell.
Right? When I saw
It literally throws you off because he gets into the place before he sees Robert Downey Jr.'s character. He's like, "Oh, put these things on your shoes." Like, why?
Doesn't it feel like this entire scene was just mostly improv? Like they didn't even have like lines set. They were just like, "I'll just go out there and spitball it for a few minutes and see what we can put together."
and it gives you that immediate eccentric vibe, right? Because what was it? What was the famous airplane designer back in the day? That got real weird and eccentric. Howard Hughes, right? That's immediately what I thought of.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a Howard Hughes moment, right? Whoever he's about to meet is extremely eccentric. You know, the guy's kind of got some weird ticks. Like it sets that up initially. And then when you actually get to meet him, you're like, okay, not only is it Robert Downey Jr., but like, okay, yeah, no, he's an eccentric weirdo. And like the conversation with these two between it flip-flapping back and forth between the assistant and the freaking carpet and whether or not he should keep the kid, you're like,
Dude,
I can understand why. It
He
was so
having
good.
3 or 4 different conversation
At the
within
same
one conversation, because he went to the topic of the kid that he supposedly have or doesn't have, he wants to keep or not to keep. The whole bit about his ex-wife and how they got back together or just hooked up for a night. He just kind of brings it up. Did he bring it up as a sort of a jab or just a half-handed remark? And he's discussing like different carpets or keep the tiles. And also he's like, oh, I do have this, like, this truck. You just need to put in some work and I'll give it to you and a fair price. And then this whole weird thing. And Carl Casper is just sitting there trying to have this kind of cohesive conversation. And it kind of culminates with him saying, well, dude, my wife want me to talk to you. It seems like I'm coming here groveling to you to get this thing, and you're talking to me about a kid and some carpentry. What do you want from me? And it kind of ends with, good. I like your passion. It's like, what the fuck just happened?
Mhm.
And to me,
Not to mention, like I said, the awkwardness that this is supposed to be like his ex-wife's ex-husband from another relationship, marriage too. So there's like the awkwardness of that in and of itself, that they're both sitting there. It's like, dude, I just want to get my truck and get the hell out of here.
yeah,
Well, it's funny too because finally he's just like, look, take the brown carpet. I don't know what to do about the girl outside. That's a personal decision. You need to figure that out and show me the truck. You know, it's just like, I love it. He's like, all
And
right,
to
let's
me,
do this.
this is to me RDJ's way of channeling Tony Stark as a sort of an avant-garde eccentric. Because to me, it just felt like it was not happy talking to Tony. It was Carl Casper talking to Tony Stark, but he's not Tony Stark. He's not Iron Man yet. Sort of that sort of feel. Maybe it's because I'm biased. Maybe I've seen Robert Downey Jr. so much as Tony Stark that I kind of made that connection. But to me, it always felt like that. Sort of a rich, kind of extravagant kind of guy. And that's how he operates. But it
Yep.
leads to this where not only
Montage.
that not only
Won't be a montage.
yeah, it's not only I got her good with this.
Perfect. Perfect.
Mhm.
Perfect. Not only does he confront his ex-wife with the whole RDJ business, that whole ex-husband and how they hooked up, and is kind of, I want to know, but I really don't want to know because we have this thing going on. Sort of real awkwardness, and also getting to reconnect with Percy. And this is exactly what Percy wanted. They're doing hard labor. It's not fun doing this whole cleaning business. I've done it before. It's really
not
fun. And through that, he gets connected to his son because he makes his son do some really grimy shit.
Mhm.
And, he really doesn't want to, but what he wants to is to spend time with his dad. And he mentioned it at the beginning, and this is their way of connecting. He's also talking back home to his John Leguizamo's character that really puts that whole thing into motion, where it's like, oh, you got a food truck. Oh, you're doing your thing. You're making it on your own. I want to be on that train. I want to be there. I want to
He literally drives he drives all night from New York to be there first thing in the morning in Miami. I love that.
The one question I had here was like, when, like I said, they got to clean the entire thing like from scratch. So at one point, the son's like throwing out the pots and the pans, and he's like, "No, what are you doing? We're gonna clean those. We're gonna use those pots and pans." I think to myself, I'm not sure if like a health inspector would agree with them using these rotted out pots and pans that have just been there for God knows how long.
Well, and it's stainless steel.
Actually, he is completely correct. Those things that he cleaned out eventually, those can be reused. You can sanitize them easy because it's stainless steel.
Mhm.
It's designed to be washed and washed and washed and be super good. And they're super expensive. They're really, really expensive. I have 3 of them in 3 different sizes. They're fucking expensive.
Yeah, but that really is. And I do want to point out, she did admit the fact that she actually didn't sleep with RDJ either as well.
Yeah. She
Allegedly,
yeah. She kind of nothing happened, and they
We
kind
just
of
decided we're better as friends.
and they decided not to go through it.
I mean, we didn't date, but I mean,
It really does come to a head where sort of like the kid sees the dad and he feels like he is underappreciated at a certain point. And kind of Carl catches himself like, yeah, I really wanted him to do it, but I really pushed him way too far. So now it's time for the good stuff. It's sort of that montage of where they're off doing some shopping, because at the beginning, the kid wanted to come to do the shopping. Now that Carl is a sort of a different phase, he's not only taking him shopping, he's explaining what they're buying, how they're buying, including not only the fruit and veg and the different stuff, but also the tools, of the trade.
Oh yeah, when you get into this scene, yeah, because this is after. Oh, yeah, this is a fun montage. This was great.
Yeah. Have you ever been to to a place like that where it's just the cooking
Yes,
stuff?
yes,
Which
we've got one.
storage house?
Yeah, oh yeah, we've got one here in town, and it's really cool. It's a fun place to go, and they've got some really nice stuff in there. It's great to go if you just want styrofoam containers too, because they're way cheaper than going there than like going to like Sam's Club or something like that. Yeah, it's a great little spot for really nice cooking materials.
And the one thing, and this is, you'll get this from any decent chef at a decent restaurant. Not talking about your garden variety one, but the one that has a chef and a sous chef, the top end is the thing about the knife. And it's very, very important. Again, specifically for high-end restaurants, is the fact that the chefs are coming with the knives to work. They have their knives that they're working on, and there are the kitchen knives, which are just your generic stuff that you work with. But your knife, the stuff that you work with all the time, it is yours. And the fact that he's sort of giving him this knife, which is kind of a big deal, it's sort of giving him, sort of passing the mantle to him, as in you're your own person, not your own man, but your own person. It's time for you to get this knife if you want to be working and doing this with me.
And one of the things that I like about you bringing that up is that they were talking about in the other scenes. One of the details that I like is in the other scenes when he leaves that kitchen, you see him grab his knife. You see him grab all of his bowls. You see him grab his roll of knives and walk out the door with them because those are his. And I thought that was a good detail to add in there because that's something that, they obviously consulted people that worked in the restaurant business on this movie because that's something that they would know. And most normies wouldn't pick up on that, but somebody working in the restaurant business would know that as soon as they watched that movie, that's what he was doing.
I mentioned it right at the start where Jon Favreau actually went to cooking school, specifically French classic cooking school. And then he was sent to work at a restaurant, a high-end restaurant, but he wasn't doing chef work. He was doing remedial work, cutting down onions and preparing avocados, doing all the prep work.
Where you start in the kitchen.
Where you just do basically just knife work and preparation and dating as well, because you have to have dates, otherwise stuff will go bad and you would serve that shit. And that attention to detail was very important to Jon, and he brought it to the movie and got praise for it from people who work in the business. And one of the things, and this is like, to me, this is this thing where it's a little bit of comedy, where his boy coming in, not his boy and his boy, right? Coming in, trying to get this thing up to the food truck. And the workers there is like, would you like to help us, or do we want to call immigration? It's like, we'll help you. But
yeah, he's on the best sandwich of their life.
Yeah, the best sandwich. It's like, we'll give you your best sandwich, and if you help us, or we'll call immigration. Take your pick, right?
There you go.
But I love that they inserted a little bit of comedy there. That, one of the best films I've seen Jon Leguizamo in was this one. He really shines in this one, where in other movies he can be, a little bit off. Like in John Wick, I didn't quite like him in that role, but in this one, it's like perfect.
These are the kind of roles he's good at too.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a few roles I can think of him being really good in. I'm not sure if you guys ever saw not the Negotiator, but the Infiltrator with Bryan Cranston. I thought he was really good in that film. If you guys have seen that one too, then this one he's very good as well. Seems like it's the more subdued roles that he's in, or he shines a lot better than his kind of the over the top comedy shtick that he's been trying to do on and off for a number of years. But when he's in films like this, where he just like plays the role straight, like he's pretty good.
Well, and I think his over the topness, when it's not focused on him the entire time, he can still have that little over the topness every once in a while, but it's not just, you're not getting him constantly which is, I
Yeah.
think, kind of how it balances and works out that way. But that's just a good director.
And this whole bit where he's kind of preparing the pork and everything, making the marinade and everything, and then of course once he's done, he is both dancing and cleaning to the music, which it comes again and again and again. Every time there's an action that is through cooking, you hear that music, and it's different music every single time. Sometimes it's sort of Chicano, Mexican kind of style jazz, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's sort of a rumba, a more of a Cuban Latin kind of Latin. It's all
Salsa
Latin,
type of
but
style to it.
it's sort of that kind of sultry kind of thing to it. And every pick, you get really good, music that meshes in with the visuals that you get.
Yeah, the music
I agree.
definitely added a lot of good feel to this movie. Like all those scenes where, it gives anybody that's ever cooked in a kitchen for any amount of time knows that that's one of the things. There's a flow, there's a rhythm to it. And if you can find the right music to put in scenes like that, it lines up perfectly. And music like that works out great. So yeah, they did a really good job in the musical choices in this movie.
Have 2 points or 2 moments here that I want to touch upon. One is this sort of life lessons to work in the kitchen. You never take out burned stuff. Even though you give it up for free, you have to keep on that standard, right? You have to keep that standard because it's either free or paid for. You are proud of your work. And it actually comes in. He literally takes Percy away to the side and he tells him something that is very, very important. Very, very important. It's like, I might not be a great dad. I might not do right by your mother and all that. But this is something that I'm good at. And I'm not like I want to teach you this because I want you to at least be curious and fall in love with it on your own accord and appreciate what I do. Not necessarily what you want to do in the future, but you need that passion. You need that sort of strive to be the best at what you can do, and that is the lesson from that burned sandwich. It's like you need to keep doing the best that you can do and not settle in for seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was a lot of fun. I like that too because it's one of those. It's like, yeah, if you're a good chef, it's like being a good mechanic or a good writer or anything else. Are you going to send out something bad? It doesn't matter if somebody's paying for it or not. That's your pride. That's your work. That's a representation of you. And you need to understand when you put out a product that represents you. And if you put out a crappy product, well, what's that say about you? Doesn't matter if it's free or not.
Exactly. And the other point that I kind of liked, and I'll let you talk, Jacob, is the father-son moment of, can I have the beer? And to me, it's like, oh, well, these children, how can they drink beer? No. Let them drink the beer. Let them have a sip. And they'll understand that it's not for them yet. And I did this with my kids. It's like they saw me. I don't drink a lot. And if I do drink, it's mostly beer. It's like cheap beer just to get that little buzz. I'm not big into drinking and all that stuff. But when my kids asked me, they saw me drink a beer, they asked me to have a sip. I gave them a sip. I don't mind it. Because I knew their reactions, like, oh, this is disgusting. It's like, remember that. And they put that in the movie as well. It's like, yeah, you remember that when you were older, right?
Yeah, when your friends try to hand you a beer, you remember this exact moment. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Jacob?
Oh, yeah, hoping that you traumatize him enough that he'll never take another beer ever again in his life. But if he just takes the cup and just downs it in one gulp, then you might have a problem there. I'm just going
to... To be absolutely fair, I've seen it many times. It's been criticized. I've seen people criticize this, but giving young children to sip, not drink beer, sip beer or sip wine, especially if it's like low alcohol wine, like a red wine with dinner or white wine with dinner, it's not a big problem. And they'll figure out it's not for them until that whole puberty hits, and then it's like being rebellious and all that stuff, and then coming into to actually doing some drinking. If they
my
want.
nanny Kieran, My nanny Karen used to give me sips off her beer all the time when I was a kid.
You turned out.
Look at me.
I love the fact that, you know, he has a cousin that can do this overnight.
Yes.
To me, that's a little bit much.
Bubba, have you seen how Hispanics work? Come on, we got this. We got this. Come on, man. I know a guy. I got a guy. I'll show you the proof.
Exactly what I
Meffistoe.
said.
I got a
to my
guy.
wife. Like you guys.
You go to a collision shop. It takes him like 3 weeks to put paint on your car, but apparently he got a fully custom job done. So one night, there you go.
I love it. The El Jefe thing too. When they rolled up on
Yeah.
that, that was great.
And again, they're off to the races. We're gonna get the truck back to California, not New York. We're gonna get back to California, but we're gonna hit certain spots. One of the spots that was mentioned earlier in the movie was going to New Orleans, and like it was picked for a reason, not just because we're moving from Florida through to California through Louisiana, but it's a sort of a mecca for cooking, because Creole is sort of a married between African cooking and French cooking, and the fact that it's French cooking that is or classical French cooking that is in the center of this is from the French cooking. You're going off and doing the Cuban thing, but you're also doing Creole thing, but you're also doing Austin barbecue thing. It's all kind of giving you the different tastes of America as the different cultures kind of mesh together, which is a beautiful thing. But that first place that you stop in is Miami Beach, right?
Mhm.
And this is where, again, doing the Twitter thing and the
I
sort
like
of
that.
social media kind of coming together. That see the normal the crowd that is going on the beach is normally the younger crowd. They embrace the whole social media even back then, or that's kind of the start of it. You can see it being represented in those retweets and getting the word out there, and suddenly you have this massive crowd. And I won't put it on screen, but what do you guys think about that whole scene with the cop? It's one of the most cringiest scenes in the entire movie. I absolutely detest that scene. Don't get me started. I hate it. It was too long of a scene. Let's just say that.
That I agree with. It was definitely too long. They could have gotten the point of that scene across in a lot shorter fashion. Like, they definitely stretched it out a bit too much there, but I felt like that was more of like a time eater type thing, because it's like you have this big crowd in like Miami, you're trying to essentially show them how the course of this film is going to shoot out here,
right?
Because this is going to be like the theme when they go to like other cities and like do their whole shtick. So yeah. They could have cut this one just a little bit, unless it was actually going like to a point where they were really going to get in trouble, rather than just taking selfies, eating plantains.
Yeah, like it's like I can understand like the whole it's a cop, you're wanting to do what things make him happy, so that way he doesn't harass you anymore. You want to keep a good relation with the cops, but yeah, I agree with both of you. This scene did go on for too long,
a little bit too long, and this is to me the aspect of this is not just the cop, it's not just the thing, because the thing he mentioned that he recognized him from is that video that he watched with his son that went viral, that Casper just went fucking ballistic. It's like, oh, you're that guy. Let me have a picture so I can, be with my son. And that whole open up your phone thing. Oh, remember this 2000
back in the day. Yeah.
Motherfucker. Why? But yeah, it's a whole sort of half internet troll coming to manifest itself in real life, and he's bugging you, but he's also a cop, so he has a thing over you. So yeah, you had to placate to that.
Yeah, because I do remember that back in the day where everybody's phone took pictures a different way, and it's like, yeah, everybody having to explain it and all that. No, I thought that was a good addition. That's funny.
Yeah, be good, Base Brooks. Yeah, you know what? We'll have a stop here because there's a few stops along the way. We'll do our second game of the night. Let me just switch here. Yeah, second game of the night. It is called Screen Fighter.
Round 1. Fight.
Screen Fighter is where we take two movies, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. If there's no discernible difference between the two, both of them are good or both of them are bad. We fall into our criteria, which is Saturday evening, Friday evening, out with the girls, out with the boys, out with your significant other. Two movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in? And we'll do this and this. Here we go. The Big Short or Footloose.
I am going to pick Footloose because as more time has gone on, I think I went from thinking The Big Short was a somewhat decent film to thinking it's a pretentious piece of crap. So I'm going to go with Footloose by default.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to go with Footloose because I've never seen The Big Short. And like, I mean, depending on, I would definitely rather watch Footloose than The Big Short if I had to come down to it.
You guys are absolutely crazy. The Big Short is a fantastic movie. By the way, Jesse, you put that on your list. If you don't have it, I will send you a link and you can watch it whenever. It is phenomenally good. It's all about the 2008 financial
banking crisis, right? Yeah, the banking crisis. Yeah. Turns out it ended up being 3 times the amount of money that the federal government actually reported that they spent after the final numbers came out.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, there's a reason why the millennials are so screwed right now.
All right. Snakes on a Plane or Prometheus? Oh, fuck. It jumped on me.
Oh, no.
There's no back button.
I haven't seen any of them.
Yeah, I'd pick Prometheus over Snakes on a Plane.
Nope.
Sometimes it actually jumps. Right. Aragon or Original Macbeth? Orson Welles' Macbeth.
I'd take Orson Welles because Aragon was such a bad adaptation. I loved those books, and God, that was such a bad adaptation. They tried, but it did not go well. So I'd take
movie I've actually seen.
This is pretty much my sentiment exactly here, so I gotta agree with that one.
Dawn of Planet of the Apes. I think that's the second one of the trilogy, or the first one of the trilogy.
Was that the one before or after James Franco died?
No idea. I haven't seen any of them. Or the Mexican.
Well, I saw the trailer for the Mexican. I'd take Dawn of the Planet of the Apes over the Mexican.
All right.
Yeah, that's another one where it's kind of like by default because I'm not that big of a fan of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes either. But yeah, the Mexican is just like, no, who actually liked that film?
The Mexican
I don't care about Julia Roberts.
The Mexican does have a bad rap. It's not that bad. The best character in it is not Brad Pitt or Julia Roberts. It's actually James Gandolfini. He is the best thing about that movie.
That's funny.
My Fair Lady or You've Got Mail. 2 romantic comedies. One old, one new.
Well, if I have to choose between the old and the new, I'm always going to go with the old. My Fair Lady is a much better film, by and large, altogether, in every facet than You've Got Mail. So I'm going to pick that one.
Jesse?
I mean, I've seen You've Got Mail like once when I was young because that thing came out in 98. I've never seen My Fair Lady, but I'm going to decide on the guy that's probably seen more movies than in a year than I will probably ever see for the rest of my life. So I'm going to go My Fair Lady too.
I've seen both of them. To me, You've Got Mail is a complete cash grab because Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan have done, I think, 2 other romantic comedies, being Joe versus the Volcano and Sleepless in Seattle. They thought it would, because they have sort of a chemistry between them, it would work. It was marketed as that way, but the movie sucked balls. And My Fair Lady is old. It's very slow, but it's a much better film. It's just a much better film.
Yep.
Thelma and Louise or Showgirls?
Showgirls.
Yeah, I'm picking Showgirls by a lot.
Yeah, unredded edition.
You heathens.
Dude, I was shown this movie. I was way too young probably when I saw this movie for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
My grandparents were watching it. I don't think they realized exactly how some of those scenes were going to go, with my aunt, man.
You can either watch two lesbians in a car, or you can watch Jesse from Saved by the Bell do everything you can possibly think of in your
If you
dreams.
ever wanted to see her if you grew up watching Saved by the Bell. Yes. Yeah. It's
You
pretty
heathens. Thelma and Louise is not about a couple of lesbians. No girls, it is.
See, Chad agrees.
Last one, Hard 8 or Bambi.
Well, both have a lot of violence. They'll make you
Yeah.
cry. I'd probably rather watch Bambi.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same line with you. Only because it's a classic style film, and I mean, like I say, you're talking about like a classic Walt Disney film, and then like literally a gangster movie.
Did
So
you
it's
guys
like,
Yeah,
ever-
it's like those are two very different ones.
yeah.
Did you ever have a chance to watch Bambi on a big screen?
You know what's even worse? I used to have the audio tape of Bambi playing, and let me just put it this way: the part where Bambi loses his mother in the fire in the forest is one of the most horrific sounding things to listen to on a cassette tape.
God.
For like a kid who's like,
Well, because I remember in the 90s when Disney was pumping a lot of those out, they had the books that you could listen to along on tape and stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, I had this thing on. I had
in
Bambi,
the
Bambi on
80s,
VHS.
When I was a kid in the 80s, they kind of, or at least here, I don't know how it was in the States, but they released those old films every few months. So my aunt took me to watch all of them. So I've seen Snow White, Pinocchio, Bambi, all the classics I've seen in a on the big screen for the very first time. I was never a Disney guy. I'm gonna go with Hard 8, but that'll be for you guys. I did press on Bambi, but just to be fair, it does go into this whole pool of ranking stuff, so I have to keep it in check. But yeah, that was fun. It was fun. You can never know what couple of pairings that you get, because sometimes you get really good ones, and sometimes you get like, I haven't seen this. No, I haven't seen this. No, I haven't seen this either. Yeah.
Well, on that last pairing, you're like, how did your algorithm put those two together?
It literally just, it's taking from a pool of every single movie ever made that is on there's like 11,000 movies on that fucking thing. I mean, if I look at it right now, of the stuff that got onto ranking, 1,600 movies that we've ranked, like 1,600 different movies that got ranked between each other.
That's awesome.
So yeah. Okay, so we're traveling. There's a few scenes, especially the scene where John Leguizamo's character pours the starch on
The cornstarch.
which is like a teaching moment for the kid, because if you've ever been in a hot and humid environment, you know exactly what's going down there, especially as a kid. And this is a very sort of a manly moment between these three characters. And of course, I've opened up my fucking Photoshop. Go away.
Okay. There's a great line he tells the kid at the end too of that scene. He's like, "Yeah, and in the morning you can stick your nuts in oil and you make hush puppies." I was like, "Oh, right, we fell off a bed." I loved that. That was.
And then, of course, they get to New Orleans, and Café Du Monde is a real place in New Orleans. I was not aware of it. Beignets is something that we know here as something else. It's a different name, but it's sort of the same thing. And the whole point for Carl Casper to do with his son is, I just wanted to hang out with you and eat some beignets. You know what? Because I think it was the very first or second conversation that he had with his kid, with Percy, is the fact that I want you to come with me to New Orleans and eat those beignets. So we did just that. And when they get back, they have this whole line coming in, and the sous chef is like, "Where have you been?" It's like, "I've done all the prep. I've done all the thing. Look at this fucking crowd. Where have you been?" It's like, "We just went to get beignets and shit. We just wanted to hang out."
one of the things that I thought was cute that we didn't point out earlier when they were leaving Miami, he's like, "Hey, you want to go to Walt Disney World?" And the kid's like, "No, I want to go to New Orleans." He says, "What about the beignets?" And Joe Leguizamo's character's like, "It would pick it, yeah, leave it to your kid to pick donuts over Walt Disney World."
Yeah, and looking back at it today, it's like that kid is
Smart
doing
choice.
some smart choices there.
But yeah, that was a really
Again,
cute scene. I really loved that.
Yeah, that aspect of social media coming into play as the kid is savvy in terms of how to promote your shit, how to do not airdrops, but the sort of
Geotagging. He was doing
geotag,
geotagging on the pictures.
all that stuff coming into play, where the two guys are like, "What the fuck? How do you do this?" Like, this is easy. It's like, do this, and this, and just send it out into the ether, and you've got enough followers, they'll just come, and they did.
Yeah, it worked out great. That line
if you
was great. He looks around, he's like, "Oh my god."
If you recall, there was a kid in New York a few months ago told people, "Hey, we're giving away a free PS5 in this location," and then thousands of people showed up, and it was like a mini riot. So it's like, yeah, it's accurate. Just tell people you're giving away stuff; they will show up. So
yeah, at least this one was nice and organized, and they were in a fine line because they were prepping for some yumminess.
yeah. Can't ride a full truck.
Well, I wanted, go ahead.
I was gonna ask. You're a Texas kid, right? You're a Texas boy. Have you ever heard of Aaron Franklin before? He's
The
from
name,
yeah.
the name, yes, but only because I've watched a bunch of videos on Texas barbecue. Like, there's a lot of things out there you can watch, like the top 10 barbecue spots in Austin or in Texas, and that's the only reason I've heard of it. I've never been there myself, because I try to avoid Austin like the plague. Because that's pretty much what it
Smart
is.
thinking, smart me.
Right. So they have taken Keep Austin Weird to turn Austin into San Francisco. But that's
what I wanted to ask is, have you ever been to a sort of a place like this where it's just shed, there's a shed in the back, there's a front, there's a restaurant. It's not really a restaurant, but it's sort of a desk and people can come in and there's a few tables, but it's not,
this is what we call right.
Just,
This is a very traditional Texas kind of thing to do because we're very much on kind of like serving at the deli style, right? You get laid paper down on, there's not plates. There's generally, you can ask for silverware, but people generally give you funny looks, and that kind of thing. But yeah, this is exactly what it is. There's a lot. There are hole in the wall places like this all over Texas, and they're generally the best places to get your food. If there's a line out the door and the building's 10 by 10, that's where you need to stop and get barbecue at. So yeah, this is right.
And
spot
we're
in
only
line.
open from like 6 in the morning.
Well, that's what happens
because that's after.
Yeah, because you spend it's once it's gone, you see that all over barbecue places because smoking and brisket and all that kind of stuff is a big thing out here. So once the meat's gone, it's gone. That's why you'll see lines out the door on places like that at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they're hanging up the close sign by 1, 2 o'clock because they're out of food. And you got to start the process all over again. What he's talking about, spending all night doing that's exactly what these boys do. And if you've ever eaten it, it is worth the wait.
Another aspect of Austin is the outdoor kind of playing about. The fact that is it South by Southwest, right?
South by Southwest.
It's all into the whole Austin culture is trying to give sort of a eclectic kind of a feel to the place. And
yeah, music is huge in Austin. Like, this scene is perfect from this. You have a festival there. One of the cool things I liked is Texas is big on motorcycle clubs, right? We've got a lot of them. There was bikers in this scene. You've got everybody out there playing music, just dancing, have a good time. Everybody's eating. Like, this is traditional Texas festival. If you go to a festival in Austin for a music festival or something like that, this is exactly what you will see. And I love that. This is like, I can't remember the name of the street, but there's a street in Austin with this is all it is stuff just like this.
And to me, this is the way of Jon Favreau, sort of like if he captured the restaurant business correctly and he captured the sort of New Orleans feel correctly and the Miami feel correctly, why not do right by Austin and giving them sort of like a sort of a taste of Austin. And Paul Harley said 6th Street.
Yes, 6th Street, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that was one
and
of the things I thought was really cool when they were in New Orleans too. He was like, what about Bourbon Street? And he's like, only the tourists go to Bourbon Street. We're going to the French Quarter, and that's like somebody that's been to New Orleans and like known people from there. That's spot on. Bourbon Street's for tourists, man. Everybody else doesn't go. Nobody else
and
goes
again, you
there.
can tell the scene. Let's say the scene below is what you expect normally. You see the big line, you see the bikes. The festival is up to the left, but also you see the rows of retweets
I
because
love
all
that.
that social media plays into everything in this movie to sort of enhance you get the internet side or the digital side of things, but you also get the analog side with it, which is we're here right now doing this physically. So
Yeah.
it's like
Well, and
physical media and digital media at the same time.
Well, and that was one of the things I commented to my wife about because I've had friends that own food trucks, right? And the social media is king. That's how everybody figures out where you are, where you're going to be, when you're going to be there, and if your food's good, they will show up. And yeah, so when it comes to food trucks, social media is king.
And we get to this scene
Great.
where they sort of had that heart-to-heart talk, and Casper fucks up again. He literally fucks it up again. And it seems like he was getting it with his son. And then he says, well,
Then he
once we
muffed
get
it up.
back, we get back to the usual rut. We get back to our regular self. And this is Percy being completely disappointed. And he's like, he mentioned the video that he made, the 1 second a day video that he made, which actually did inspire me to do a few of my shorts, but that's gone by the wayside by now. It's the fact that he was already on board on this train and going back home. The closer he gets to being back in California or in being in LA, he's going back to that whole being bogged in and not being creative and not thinking outside of the box, just being in that shell of his, even though he's already gone through this journey of being more creative, being more open, tasting new things, trying out new things, and reconnecting with his son. Bless you, my man.
God bless you.
It goes back to what we were saying earlier about being, I guess, comfortable in your position, and then he went through all that turmoil, and now he finally found a place where he's back at a little bit more comfort, and then he's still yearning for what he had before, not realizing what he had now, and what he has now, essentially. And that's kind of like that disconnect. It's like, dude, like I said, we've grown so much over the course of like the last few days, and then you want to go back to what was clearly not working beforehand because that's what you've been comfortable with this entire time.
Yeah, because the kid's like, look, I want to cook. I want to be in the truck. I can help you after school. I can help you on the weekends. Like, let me do this, And the dad's just like, well, once we get back to LA, it's all going to go back to the way it was before. And the kid's like, why? And he's just like, yeah. And so, yeah.
And the thing that kind of clicked is he drops him off, hugs him, he leaves to the house. The wife kind of gives him that look of sort of half disappointment, half like, this was a great trip, but why are you doing this? But she doesn't say anything. She just gives him that look. And he's like taking a sigh, going back to his house, dropping out for everything. And the first thing he does is actually picks up the phone. Is like, oh, the mail, the video that he wanted me to see. And as he watches this video, the realization of, yeah, I've gone through some shit. We've done some stuff. I'm here, but I'm not back to where I was. I need to wake up. And this is his wake up moment. And then as soon as the video stops, it's like, oh, we've done so many things, but it took like a second every day to I can see the bigger picture now. He calls in Percy, gets him on the phone. He's like, yeah, you can work here. And this is where everything kind of turns, but we're close to the end of the movie. So things go a little bit faster. First of all, we get to see that scene. This is a real place in LA. This is where Roy Choi, the guy who you see him do the sandwich with at the end, the guy who helped produce this thing and make sure it's authentic. This is a real place of lots of different stuff. People come there, and it's sort of the 6th Street, but in LA or downtown LA. And not exactly where it is, I don't know, but I'll be there. I'll be there in 4 months, hopefully. Not in 4, 6 months. And we get the interaction with Ramsey Michelle.
Yes, that was really good.
And this is where Casper realizes another aspect of this whole growth path that he's
Social
on.
media.
Not only does Ramsey Michelle represents a food critic, but he's also representing a person that backed you from the start, wanted to see how creative you can be at a different place, and you kind of fucked it up. But when you got back to your roots, you got back to that creative side of yours, I'm coming back because I'm all about great food. And this is kind of like everybody who does sort of content creation and doing critique online. And this is why we point out the bad stuff that's going on in movies, in video games, is we want this to be good. We want these movies, we want this entertainment to be good. This is why we're criticizing it, because we want you to give us nice, good, creative things and not being in this rut and giving you, the member berries, the highlights, the stuff that we kind of like, we remember, we kind of like nostalgia, but there's so much it can go on. We want new things.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that was always the aspect. And him kind of realizing it's not only that he wants you, he loves that you're creative, he wants to be in business with you. Kind of like, yeah, I'm going to not only be a critic of your food, I'm there to push you to be much better, and go farther away.
One of the things that I like that he pointed out in that scene when he was talking to him as well, because they kind of like, they actually talk about the conversation that they had on Twitter. And he's like, Bubba, I was just playing along. It's theater, and that's what a lot of people don't understand about social media, that take it way too seriously, and that's what he did at first. And then when they have that little conversation, it kind of gives him that little bit of realization. But I loved the way that scene went. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, I sold my website. And that's something that had already been mentioned earlier, right? He sold the AOL website to 10.5 million. So that wasn't something that just came out of nowhere. They'd already put that in the back of your heads earlier in the movie. And so it makes sense that he can do this because, like you said, he was the first guy to ever give him a really crazy high praise. And I really like that actor too. I can't remember his name, but I've seen him in a bunch of stuff.
Oliver Platt.
Yeah,
he picks and chooses his roles, but it's never a lead role. It's always a sort of a character actor. He comes in and he does a bit part in a movie. Usually is pretty good. I like him. Yeah, all I can say, he fit in so well. He meshed so well with the part that they gave him to do. And yeah, that conversation about sort of understanding that part of social media and how it actually affects your day-to-day work is actually, they touched on a point and they didn't wallow in it. It just kept going. So it's just sort of a food for thought, as we say.
Yeah, that conversation wasn't filled with much filler at all. It was like, hey, we squashed our stuff. Look, I've always believed in you. I've got a bunch of money. Let's freaking do something because I can't write a review on you. I love the way they put that. He's like, well, I'm not going to write a review on it. He's like, well, okay, all right, I get it. He's like, because I want to be I can't write a review on something I'm financially invested in. And then like that light just clicks on in his head. And he's like, oh, wait a minute. What? And then like homeboy's like, why didn't you punch him in the face?
Yeah, the whole button on the scene is that comedic moment. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of talking here, and I didn't see you punch him in the face. So what are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing there? Well, and I love how the ex-wife too is like, as soon as he walks up to the food truck, she's like, we don't have anything to sell you. And I'm like, that is a Hispanic woman, man. That's how they get down. Like, I love that. I thought that was hilarious. Like, no, you ain't even getting to my man. You ain't getting past me. Okay.
That kind of give you the inkling of, yeah, she was always in his corner. she's just, he didn't cook the good food for her. That's why she couldn't be with him. But
She lost his spark.
when he did, it all came back because they got married. Sort of like giving you the typical American happy ending, where, to be fair, they could have left this scene completely out of the movie and I would still be happy with the movie.
Yeah.
The only plus thing about this was more good music. That's good for me. And there was the interaction between like Percy and the food Ramsey Michelle. He was like trying to taste the food, and Percy was like, "No, don't touch this. This is going to the the guests."
That was really cute.
And sort of
Now,
Percy gets his wish as his mom and dad get back together. But in fact, that was the whole point. It's like there was a commonality there. There was just Carl Casper couldn't perform, we'll call it.
well, he lost his
Yeah,
passion.
that's
He
what we'll
lost
call
his
it.
drive. Yeah,
Yeah.
he'd lost all that. He'd lost that creative flair. He'd lost that spark that was probably part of what she fell in love with to begin with. And now it's like, hey, Stella got his groove back. You know what I mean? So
Completely. And yeah, that is it for this movie.
well, and I love the scene too, where they're like as a family thing, where like he's got the boy up on his shoulders and they're all dancing together on the floor, on the wedding floor. I thought that was really cool. So
Yeah,
exactly.
that's definitely a lot of strong family undertones with this film, which is another reason why you really enjoy it. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of wholesome themes in this movie that just blend together perfectly. And like I said, it's also a movie that's going to make you extremely, extremely hungry too, and make you want to eat cubano sandwiches and pasta all day.
But-
Which
It actually does marry together the whole warm family, even though the dad, he made most of the mistakes here, but he has a full-on redemption arc completely in terms of professionally and with his family. There's a full-on redemption arc on both sides, and kind of it marries in together with it's a warm house with good food, family, and music. It's all kind of meshed in together with that whole story. And all Jon Favreau wanted to do was to make a fucking movie about some food. That's what he said it was all about. And like I said, just you weren't here when I mentioned this. I'll mention this again. The fact that this whole movie kind of mirrors Jon Favreau's career as he was making hits, he was making this big budget things, but when he went to his passion, when he went to his like good stuff, he makes these wonderful, kooky, great movies that anybody can understand the story and the undertones behind them. And I sincerely hope, after kind of booted out of The Mandalorian, that he goes back and does some good independent shit, that he will write it. Not necessarily act in, but actually does write and direct. I sincerely hope he does so real soon, because we need it.
I mean, but we absolutely need some good independent stuff right now, and that's something that's made by multi-billion-dollar corporations like the Disneys and the Comcasts and all this other stuff. Like we need some good film to save what's left of our industry at this point, because it's getting a little rough here, especially with these latter months here at the end of 2023. So yeah.
To be fair, I was approached by a director that wanted to promote a movie, and I was like, I'm a small challenge. You really want to talk to me? It's like, yeah, I want to talk to you. And the movie was The Last Deal. He was also a guest on the Shagsworth. He did a whole interview with him a few months later. And The Last Deal is I wouldn't say typical, but sort of like a 90s movie done in the 2020s about a drug deal going wrong. I don't know if you've seen it or not, Jacob. It's not like your blowout 10 out of 10. It's a solid 7 out of 10, but it's an independent movie done without the studios. And when he told me the budget, I was fucking floored, because it was under $1 million. And if you've seen the movie, it's like, whoa, this was done under $1 million? That's fucking crazy. That's great. And yeah, you can make a good, solid story contained. It's not, don't have to be like a Michael Bay, but it's self-contained and good entertainment. No politics, no nothing, just good entertainment. And
You mean we can actually make good movies in 2023? Is that what I'm being heard spoken?
It's a strange concept, but there are still a few people out there trying their best right now.
I don't know. I got to press X to doubt.
Nefarious was good. Well,
Yeah.
Sound of Freedom was made by a big budget studio, but Nefarious was good, and that was made for like $2 million.
Yeah. You go, Meffistoe.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say there's a couple other movies. I think All the World Was Sleeping, which is actually a pretty good movie that I saw earlier this year. One of those low budget movies. And then I'm also seeing a lot of films like out of like South Korea and India that are actually pretty solid too. That aren't nearly as massive of budget as compared to the United States. But like I said, there's good movies out there, just a lot harder to find than what's being force fed to us at the moment.
And
that is
the
very
thing
true.
is, they need to come out of their sort of studio shell. And yeah, I know they're using social media, but they have to really embrace it and really embrace YouTubers who do these kind of things and do movie reviews and love the movie business. People like you, Jacob, like me. I don't know, Jesse, if you're gonna get into it, but I'm sure many people who do some sort of movie critique that want to see these kind of things. Chris Gore is a big advocate for indie films, and he always keeps talking about making more indie films and telling different stories, diverse, like real diverse stories.
Actually diverse, real diversity, not the forced bullshit.
Diversity, telling you different stories. Let me talk to you about my culture, coming from a real place and real time, and not involving politics that much, just giving you either a cultural thing or just a story from their own experience, and doing it at a low budget. It doesn't have to be under $1 million, but yeah, a low budget, and finance that through Kickstarter or GoFundMe and get into that avenue, or again, using YouTubers to help promote your shit. All right. That was Chef, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, you know what? Just overall, that movie made me happy. And that's something I haven't really got a chance to experience lately, watching a lot of media and entertainment. That was a well done movie. It made me happy. The story was complete. There wasn't a bunch of BS, but it didn't have to be over the top. It didn't have to be crazy. Like I said, this wasn't a movie I probably would have gone out of my way to watch, just like seeing it, browsing through, but I'm really glad I did watch it. And now I want to go watch more independent Jon Favreau stuff. So yeah, the movie succeeded for me.
Swingers, the movie he keeps raising again and again and again, is actually a pretty decent fucking movie. It actually is a pretty decent movie. I don't remember the budget, but it's real low, and you can feel it at times, but it's a whole story. It's about a Vegas trip, basically.
Nice.
Right. Jacob, tell us what's going on with you.
So we got a lot of stuff coming up this week. Last night, we did a live movie stream for the 2003 film Chasing Poppy, which also starred a much younger Sofia Vergara all the way back 20 years ago. So that's up on our Rumble page. We are on Rumble, Twitch, and on YouTube as well. Monday night, our Bible Ends podcast. We're going to be talking about the difference between Israel and the church. Tuesday, we're going to be doing episode 73 of the Ballroom podcast. And there's a whole bunch of MCU Disney related stories about like how She-Hulk, arguably the worst television show ever, spent $225 million to produce the entire season, which is just absurd to me that they would spend that kind of money. So we'll talk about that. Friday night, we're going to do a review of The Marvels, which is the latest MCU film. And then next Saturday, 1 week from Saturday, we're going to be doing another live movie night on Rumble and Twitch, and we're watching Scream 2. So, yeah, we got a lot coming up this week. It's going to be a big week for us.
Nice. Jesse, what's going on with you on Rumble?
Tomorrow, tonight we'll be on Vets Talking. That'll be on YouTube and Rumble. That's at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time in the U.S., that's always a good time. Bunch of cranky old vets getting together, talking about pop culture. We call it Skinamax Saturdays. Tomorrow, Sunday at 2 p.m. is the Bible study. We just started Numbers, I believe. Hold on, let me look. No, we just started Deuteronomy. So I think we're at like the third or fourth book in Deuteronomy right now.
The rules, all the rules.
Yeah, the rules. Oh yeah, the rules. Yeah, we just got done with numbers. So yeah, we'll work our way through that one tomorrow. Do that for about an hour. And then Monday back into the morning show at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And then we're going to have an evening show from 6 to 8 p.m. Our inaugural one last week on Monday. I highly recommend you go watch it. We had one of the Geeks and Gamers tabletop character, one of their players, come over, and she got absolutely smashed, fisted, wasted out of her mind, and ended up banging her head on a dresser, and it was absolutely hilarious. If you have never watched a woman take a pint glass full of whiskey and finish it, half of it in one gulp, you need to come watch that stream. She's just impressive as all get out. But yeah, so that's pretty much the schedule for Monday through Thursday for us from here on out. Since Rumble likes live streaming more, we'll be doing a lot of that. I'm putting videos over on Vets Talk for a lot of the pop culture stuff. And yeah, I'll probably be doing random video game streams all the time too. So,
and for me, next week we won't be here because I'm celebrating my 18th anniversary with Mrs. Meth. But the next week after that will be the menu, because we continuing this whole November month of just doing food-based movies. So we're going to cover the menu from 2022, a movie that I wasn't excited originally to watch. Watched it. It is very, very special, but it's not for everybody. We'll save that for next time. Don't remember what guest we'll have, but I think it's sort of a friend that is not really a YouTuber that was on before a long time ago. We're excited to get her back. I think it's her. Other than that, on the channel, I'm sorry, Jesse, finally got remonetized.
become a member.
Become a member if you like. Mostly share this podcast around. And like I said, at the start of October, it's going to be movie reviews, just movie reviews on the channel as an upload. It's going to start Monday afternoon for the US, and it's going to be my favorite movie of all time. So, guys out there, please remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. Have a good night.
Amen.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.